Imagine waking up tomorrow with one retirement rule. You have exactly $1,800 a month to live on, and you have to choose between two of Southeast Asia's most talked about destinations, the Philippines and Vietnam. At first, this sounds like a simple money question. Find the cheaper country, pack your bags, and enjoy retirement. But that is where things get interesting, because the country that costs less every month may not actually be the country that makes retirement easier. Once visas, healthcare, language, housing, and long-term stability enter the picture, this comparison becomes much more complicated. Let us start with the Philippines. For an American retiree, one advantage appears almost immediately: communication. English is an official language of the Philippines alongside Filipino, which means English is deeply integrated into government, education, business, and everyday life. That does not mean everyone speaks perfect English everywhere, but compared with many countries in the region, the language barrier can be considerably smaller. For a retiree dealing with landlords, doctors, banks, utilities, and government offices, that convenience can become surprisingly valuable. Then, there is the biggest advantage the Philippines has in this comparison: a formal retirement residency program. The Special Resident Retirees Visa, or SRRV, is designed specifically for foreigners and former Filipino citizens who want to retire in the country. The Philippine Retirement Authority currently lists principal applicants from age 40 and above, and the program can provide multiple entry privileges and indefinite stay. That creates something retirees often underestimate until they need it: legal certainty. But this is where some older retirement videos can mislead people. The SRRV is not simply a cheap visa you apply for and forget. The required deposit depends on your age and whether you have a qualifying pension. For someone age 50 or older, the SRRV Classic currently requires a $15,000 deposit for a qualifying pensioner or $30,000 for a non-pensioner. For applicants between 40 and 49, those amounts rise to $25,000 and $50,000 respectively. Qualifying pensioners must also show a lifetime pension of at least $800 per month for a single applicant or $1,000 with dependents. There are fees on top of that. The Philippine Retirement Authority lists a $1,500 processing fee for the principal applicant, and the annual fee for an SRRV Classic Foreign National is currently $360 for the principal and up to 2 dependents. So yes, the Philippines has a genuine retirement pathway, but there is a real financial barrier at the entrance. Someone living comfortably on $1,800 a month could still struggle with the amount of capital required before that monthly lifestyle even begins. Now let us talk about everyday living, because this is where Vietnam starts fighting back. Current 2026 cost data from Numbeo places Da Nang below both Cebu and Manila on its cost of living plus rent index. Da Nang scores 19.4 compared with 24.0 for Cebu and 27.1 for Manila. These are crowdsourced indexes rather than guaranteed personal budgets, but the direction is useful. Vietnam, particularly cities such as Da Nang, can offer significantly lower everyday costs than the major retirement centers in the Philippines. That difference matters enormously when your ceiling is $1,800. Housing can consume the largest part of a retirement budget, and choosing the wrong neighborhood can destroy your numbers quickly. In either country, a modern apartment aimed at foreign residents, a prime location, regular Western restaurant meals, imported groceries, and frequent air conditioning can turn an affordable retirement into an expensive one. The important question is not simply whether a country is cheap. It is whether the lifestyle you personally expect is cheap in that country. Vietnam has another major advantage here: local lifestyle value. If you are comfortable eating local food, using local services, taking Grab, walking where practical, and renting outside the most expensive tourist locations, your money can stretch remarkably far. Da Nang is particularly interesting because it combines a major city with beaches, modern apartments, restaurants, cafes, and relatively affordable living. Compared with Manila or Cebu, $1,800 can simply have more breathing room. But then, Vietnam runs directly into its biggest retirement problem: immigration status. Vietnam's official electronic visa system currently allows electronic visas for a maximum of 90 days, with either single or multiple entry options. The government currently charges $25 for a single-entry electronic visa and $50 for multiple entry. That is perfectly useful for a visitor, but a 90-day visa is not the same thing as a dedicated retirement residency program. And that difference is enormous. The official Vietnamese immigration system does not present a dedicated retirement category comparable to the Philippine SRRV. Staying long-term therefore requires a retiree to understand what legal basis is actually available for their particular situation, rather than assuming that cheap rent automatically gives them a simple path to permanent retirement. In other words, Vietnam can win the monthly budget battle while making the long-term residency question considerably more complicated. Now we arrive at the category that can completely change the decision: healthcare. Many retirees focus intensely on rent and food, while treating healthcare like a future problem. That can be a serious mistake. Medicare itself warns that it usually does not cover healthcare received outside the United States, except in limited situations. Some Medigap policies may provide certain foreign travel emergency benefits, but retirees should not assume their American coverage simply follows them overseas. The Philippines has private hospitals and medical facilities, particularly in major urban centers, but payment systems can work differently from what Americans expect. The U.S. State Department notes that although some private Philippine hospitals may accept international health insurance, many require patients to pay first and seek reimbursement afterward. That makes insurance, emergency funds, and location important parts of a realistic retirement budget. Vietnam has modern medical services as well, but location again matters. The U.S. State Department specifically warns that if you are injured in Vietnam, you may need to travel to a major city for appropriate medical care. That means the beautiful, inexpensive coastal town or quiet rural destination that looks perfect on YouTube may become less attractive once you ask a more serious question. How far am I from the medical care I might need at age 65, 70, or 75? This is why retiring abroad cannot be reduced to a spreadsheet showing cheap meals and rent. At 30, a visa inconvenience might feel like an adventure. At 65, dealing with immigration rules, medical appointments, insurance claims, and language barriers can feel very different. Retirement is not just about purchasing power. It is about reducing friction in everyday life. So, can you retire on $1,800 a month in either country? Potentially, yes, depending heavily on your city, housing standards, healthcare needs, insurance, and spending habits. But $1,800 should not be treated as a magic number that guarantees a comfortable lifestyle. Someone renting modestly and eating mostly local food could experience that budget very differently from someone who wants an upscale condo, imported groceries, frequent Western meals, private transportation, and expensive entertainment. If your number one priority is making every dollar stretch as far as possible, Vietnam has the stronger argument. Current cost comparisons support the idea that destinations such as Da Nang can be cheaper than Manila or Cebu, and that difference can create much more room inside a fixed retirement income. But you have to solve the long-term immigration question rather than ignoring it. If your priority is retirement practicality, the Philippines becomes harder to beat. The SRRV provides something Vietnam currently does not offer in comparable form: a residency program explicitly built around retirees. Add widespread use of English and an established foreign retiree community, and everyday life can involve considerably less friction. The trade-off is higher living costs in many popular areas and a substantial financial commitment to qualify for the retirement program. And that leads to the real winner. Vietnam may win the cost of living test, but for many retirees, especially Americans looking for a predictable legal pathway and easier communication, the Philippines can win the retirement test. The cheaper country is not automatically the better retirement country, because retirement is not only about how little you can spend. It is about how comfortably, legally, and confidently you can build a life there. Before choosing either country, ask yourself one question: are you trying to find the cheapest place to live or the easiest place to retire? Those sound like the same goal until you actually compare what each one requires. If you found this comparison useful, Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more honest retirement comparisons, cost breakdowns, and overseas living guides. And make sure to check out the other videos on the channel, because your best retirement destination might be a country you have not even considered yet.